Let's bring in somebody that I'm almost positive would disagree with Ken Fisher on this issue. It's former CBO director under Bush 43, Doug Holtz-Eakin. I guess you read his piece in the USA Today. Now, Ken is a very smart guy. I've known him for 20 years. I love him dearly. But what worries me about his comments is that they may give cover, as Chris was suggesting, to a lot of these multi-trillion-dollar spending plans.
Yeah, I have to say I respectfully disagree with Mr. Fisher. I mean, this is not something that you should take lightly. There are really two arguments that he made. One is that if you look back in the 80s, we had some pretty big deficits and debt, and that didn't seem to harm the U.S. economy. You should be very nervous about anyone who tries to equate that situation with this one. That was a situation where productivity growth was strong year after year after year, where the baby boomers were entering into their prime working years, women were entering the labor force, the Soviet Union was collapsing, and the world was becoming safer. That's not the world we live in. We live in a world where the baby boom is retiring and there are demographic headwinds to growth. We live in a world that's getting more dangerous, not safer all the time. There are more demands. And we live in a world where the entitlement programs are 2/3 of spending, and you can't change them year by year like you could the budgets in the 80s. So I worry about that argument a lot.
I know what Ken would say. You're a worrywart. We're doing great. The economy's booming. We're becoming more productive. Yes, we do have a shortage of people, a lot of people going into retirement, a shortage of new workers coming into the work field. But at the same time, why worry when you have an economy that's going this well?
Because the deficits we have now are not the ones that we choose. They're structural, and they are forever. We have got over 4% of GDP in deficits, ignoring interest, structural primary deficits as far as the eye can see. And just because you don't have a crisis doesn't mean you're not paying a price. Every time that government is borrowing a dollar, it is taking a dollar that the private sector could have used to educate a worker, invent something, buy new equipment, make the world a more productive place. We are crowding out trillions of such opportunities every year, and if we're not seeing a crisis, it just means the termites are eating the woodwork. This is a problem.
How do you think it blows up?
It may not blow up, right? This is a global capital market. We're the best-looking horse in this glue factory. There are other places that have bigger problems than us, so it doesn't blow up by having us shut down. But we do give up the chance to grow faster. We do give up the chance to bequeath a higher standard of living, and we give up the opportunity to genuinely spread American values around the globe. I think those are big costs.
Doug, I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but when you have the biggest thing that is making people kind of calm about all this is that you have such low interest rates, it's not as much of a cost as it would be if we doubled the interest rates that we now have. But you have Europeans with these negative interest rates, so for a long time now, you've had low interest rates, and I don't foresee any time when those interest rates are going to pop up anytime soon. Do you?
And they may not, right? That's certainly a possibility. But as I said, if our interest rates were the only thing we had to worry about, that would be fine. But you could, take the interest part out of it, and we still have big structural deficits, and we are still impinging on the capacity of this economy to be even stronger than it is right now. And if you look at the pace of economic growth, it's been good. 2018 was good, but we are slowing in ways that I don't think we should be, and we are not locked in on the kinds of productivity increases we need to replicate the post-war era. In the post-war, the standard of living doubled every 35 years, once in a working career. We're on track to have it double every 70 years. We can do better than this.
And what happens if we get a Bernie Sanders as our next president who wants to have a wealth tax, who wants to essentially add tens of trillions of dollars, doubling or tripling our current federal budget?
All right. Look, those plans are a budgetary fantasy land. They won't happen because they can't happen. You just take Medicare for all as one example. That's a plan that's going to cost $32 trillion additional dollars over 10 years. It would require 20 percentage points of payroll tax to pay for it, and the idea that you can do it on the backs of a handful of rich is just not in the numbers. So you're looking at an enormous expansion of the federal government, an enormous expansion of the payroll tax. It would be devastating to the economy, and the existing problem would remain. He's just talking about paying for making it worse.
Doug Holtz-Eakin, always a pleasure to see you, Doug. Take care. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, David.